Wrong is wrong, and there's a time to hold people responsible and accountable for their actions.
For a year now, we've been reporting on questionable spending by a South suburban politician named Tiffany Henyard, but we only knew half the story.
Is the clock finally running out for Tiffany Henyard? For months, the controversial mayor of Dolton, Illinois, has been at the center of one scandal after another, each more shocking than the last. And now, as reports swirl about an impending arrest warrant, it seems that the once powerful super mayor may be watching her empire crumble right before her eyes. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. This drama is just heating up.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
It's no secret that Tiffany Henyard has been living large on the taxpayer's dime. First-class flights, stays at the Four Seasons, and lavish dinners at high-end restaurants have become the norm for her and her entourage. But the real shocker? This isn't Beverly Hills, this is Dolton, a small village of just over 20,000 people. Who spends $47,000 on a trip to Austin, Texas with 5 people? $1,000 at Walgreens? Come on. You'd think she was living the life of a Hollywood A-lister, not the mayor of a modest town. And this isn't just some wild spending spree, this is taxpayer money we're talking about. But here's where things take an even darker turn. For the longest time, Henyard managed to dodge serious consequences, always finding a way to wriggle out of the tight spots she found herself in. Whenever questions arose, she would dismiss them with vague statements or simply blame her former top aide, Keith Freeman. According to her, he was the mastermind behind all this questionable spending. She claimed she was just a new mayor, trusting her experienced aide to guide her through the complexities of running the village. She even went as far as to say that she didn't handle any of the credit card transactions herself. Really, Tiffany? That's your excuse?
The legal appointment, that's what the trustees I talked to are calling this. They say the news took them by surprise, and now they're talking to legal counsel to figure out their next steps.
But let's get real here. Even if Freeman did have a hand in these spending decisions, it's laughable to think that Henyard was just some innocent bystander. After all, this isn't her first rodeo. She's been involved in local politics for years, serving as a village trustee for 8 years before becoming mayor. And let's not forget that as the mayor, she holds the highest executive office in Dolton. It's her job to oversee and approve these expenditures. Claiming ignorance doesn't cut it. Now here's where it gets really juicy. Freeman, the man Henyard has been so quick to throw under the bus, has started cooperating with federal authorities. Yep, you heard that right. The very person she's been blaming for all her woes is now singing like a canary to the feds. And this isn't just idle chatter, this could be the nail in the coffin for Henyard. Freeman's cooperation suggests that he has valuable information that could directly implicate her in these financial misdeeds. If Henyard thought she could walk away from this unscathed, she might want to think again.
Mr. Lacey is absolutely not guilty of all 9 counts. I believe he's cooperating. And if you cooperate, you have to admit your guilt first.
But it doesn't stop there. Rumors are swirling that others in Henyard's inner circle, those who have benefited from her time in office, are starting to sense the ship is sinking. These once loyal allies are reportedly beginning to distance themselves from her, and some may even be cooperating with investigators. It's like watching a real-life episode of Survivor where alliances crumble as soon as the going gets tough. The cracks in Henyard's empire are growing wider by the day, and it's only a matter of time before it all comes crashing down.
Is there a motion to terminate Keith Freeman?
And while all this is happening, Henyard is still trying to maintain a facade of control. She recently held a township meeting where she attempted to justify her actions and paint herself as a victim of a smear campaign. In a room filled with angry residents, she declared, "I'm so rare, I'm so unique, and that's why everybody got problems all about control." But the crowd wasn't having it. One resident even shouted back, "The residents already know you're stealing from them." Ouch. The reality is, Henyard's attempts to spin the narrative in her favor are falling flat. People aren't buying it, and her desperation is becoming more and more apparent.
You could feel the anger tonight at a Board of Trustees meeting in Thornton Township. The board and citizens looking for accountability to their finances, while the township supervisor...
But how did we get here? How did Tiffany Henyard, who once seemed like a rising star in local politics, end up as the poster child for corruption and incompetence? To understand that, we need to rewind a bit. Tiffany Henyard's political journey began with promise. Born and raised in Dolton, she was a hometown girl who understood the struggles of her community. She started her political career by working on then-Governor Pat Quinn's initiative, Put Illinois to Work. From there, she was elected as a village trustee in 2013, where she quickly gained a reputation as a fighter for the people, even earning the nickname the People's Trustee when she won re-election in 2017. Her popularity grew, and in 2021 she became the first female mayor of Dolton, a historic achievement that was widely celebrated.
The township residents are paying for her fund.
But it didn't take long for things to start going south. Almost immediately after taking office, Henyard began making decisions that raised eyebrows. She used taxpayer money to fund extravagant trips under the guise of attending conferences. These weren't just any trips, these were luxury vacations with all the trimmings. First-class flights, five-star hotels, and high-end restaurants became the norm for Henyard and her crew. And while the village of Dolton was sinking deeper into debt, Henyard was living it up like a rock star. The village's general fund, which had a surplus of $5.6 million when she took office, is now more than $3.5 million in the red. How does that happen? It's almost as if she was determined to drain the village's coffers dry.
Deep debt, and that is the finding of an investigation of village finances and the spending habits of beleaguered Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
And it wasn't just the spending. Henyard also turned the Dolton Police Department into her own private security force. She appointed her ally, Deputy Police Chief Louis Lacey, to oversee the department. But Lacey wasn't just any police chief, he was a key player in Henyard's web of corruption. He's now been indicted on bankruptcy fraud charges, and it's been revealed that he raked in over $200,000 in overtime, a figure that's mind-boggling considering his base salary. Lacey's job wasn't just to keep the peace in Dolton, it was to protect Henyard and enforce her will, no matter how shady her orders were. The police force, which should have been serving the community, became a tool for Henyard to exert control and retaliate against her enemies.
We needed those officers to be on the street fighting crime. And instead, we have several officers that are riding around protecting the mayor.
And then there's the issue of the so-called charity. Henyard founded Tiffany Henyard Cares, a charitable organization that was supposed to help people battling cancer. Sounds noble, right? Except that this charity has been accused of being nothing more than a front to launder stolen money. The Illinois Attorney General's office has threatened legal action against the charity for failing to file required financial disclosures. It's also been reported that taxpayers' money was used to fund charity events, and that public employees were forced to work for the charity on the clock. The whole thing stinks of corruption, and it's just one more example of how Henyard has abused her power.
So that's one of the reasons I vote no when we go through our board packets. It's like, some of this stuff, it's like you don't know exactly what it's for, and then when you ask a question, there's no answer.
And as if that weren't enough, Henyard has a history of appointing questionable characters to high-ranking positions. Take Keith Freeman, for example. As her top aide and village administrator, Freeman was responsible for much of the financial mismanagement that's now under investigation. He's already been charged with bankruptcy fraud, and it's his cooperation with federal authorities that could be the final blow for Henyard. But Freeman isn't the only one. Henyard's administration has been rife with nepotism and cronyism, with friends and allies being placed in positions of power, despite their lack of qualifications. It's no wonder the village is in such dire straits. So what's next for Tiffany Henyard? Well, if the rumors are true, her days of freedom could be numbered. There's talk that an arrest warrant is being prepared, and with Freeman and others cooperating with the feds, it's hard to see how she can avoid being taken down. But even as the walls close in, Henyard continues to fight. She's still holding on to her position, still trying to control the narrative, and still blaming everyone but herself for the mess she's created. It's a classic case of a leader who refuses to accept responsibility, even as the evidence against her piles up. But at this point, it's not just about Henyard, it's about the people of Dolton, who have been betrayed by the very person they trusted to lead them. The village is in financial ruin, crime is on the rise, and the people are fed up. They've watched as their mayor lived like royalty while they struggled to make ends meet. They've seen their tax dollars squandered on luxury trips and personal perks, and they're demanding accountability. The residents of Dolton deserve better, and they're not going to stop until they get it.
They're saying, no, he's not employed by us. So you have got just this gyration.
In the end, Tiffany Henyard's story isn't just one of personal greed and corruption, it's a cautionary tale about what happens when power goes unchecked. It's a reminder that even the most promising leaders can be corrupted by power, and that it's up to the people to hold their leaders accountable. Henyard's downfall, if it happens, will be a victory for the people of Dolton and a warning to other leaders who think they can abuse their power without consequences. But for now, the drama continues. Henyard is still in office, still fighting to maintain her grip on power, and still trying to spin the story in her favor. But the cracks are showing, and it's only a matter of time before the whole thing comes crashing down. Whether it ends with an arrest, a resignation, or something else entirely, one thing is clear: Tiffany Henyard's reign as super mayor is coming to an end, and the people of Dolton are ready for a new beginning. So what do you think? Is Tiffany Henyard finally facing the end of her scandal-ridden reign, or will she find a way to slip through the cracks once again? And with her inner circle reportedly starting to turn against her, could we see more shocking revelations come to light? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's get the conversation started. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.